Well, welcome everybody. Today, I'm so excited to introduce you this local heroes that I'm doing. It's a new series that I started doing because I just really want to get to know some of our community people. A lot of them do a lot of great works, but they are doing it kind of in the background, not a lot of people knowing it. And the purpose of this interview is that let all of us get to know these people. And today I have invited Jillian Cullins. And Jillian actually is a mom of my son's classmate. And I remember, well, there was this one incident I remember. Of course, I've seen you at school, and we were at the baseball field, and I saw you were like, Jillian with all these kids. I'm like, my gosh, how many kids do you have? And you said, oh, I think at the time you said 5 or 6, I don't remember. But I was just like, holy cow, I didn't know you have that many kids. They're like, well, 3 of them were foster kids. I was like, wow, really? And so I got really interested. I always have this dream in my head that I want to be a foster parent one day. And I've been doing these Toys for Tots through my realtor association, where we actually gather these toys during Christmas and giving out to foster kids. So you are definitely somebody I've been secretly admired. So I thank you so much for coming and talking to me.
Of course.
So Jillian, do you mind to just share with the audience a little bit about like how long have you been a foster mom and or foster parent?
Yeah, we became foster parents almost 4 years ago. My husband and I, we had 2 small boys, and I always wanted to adopt since I was like, I think 15 or so. I had babysat for 2 little girls that were both adopted, and I knew that that was something that I would enjoy doing. And so when I met my husband and I told him that, I wanted to adopt, he was like, yeah, okay. He's
Just
like,
like that.
I never thought about it, but yeah, it sounds fine. So we kind of knew getting married that that would be something we would do. I did know I also wanted to have biological children if I could. And so we got pregnant, fairly quickly after we got married. And then when we started looking into adoption, we met some friends that had adopted 3 boys through foster care. And so they said, you guys should really look into foster care because we think that you guys could do that and you'd be a good family for it. And so that's kind of what guided us into that.
Yeah.
And we started looking into it and thought, yeah, I have a passion for local missions and local children. And I knew I didn't want to adopt internationally or anything like that because I knew there was enough children here stateside that needed homes.
I was just about to ask you that question. You like adopting internationally or locally? That's awesome because foster care obviously is more locally.
Well, and it's very hyper local. I don't think I ever thought I would be adopting. I mean, literally, our foster baby right now, she is from a home that is a mile away. So, I mean, it is really hyper local. You think you're in a neighborhood that doesn't have a need for foster care, but everywhere we've been, the children are right there in our own backyards and our own schools. And so it's pretty neat to be being able to foster and adopt from your own community and help in that way.
Yeah.
So we've had, in the last 4 years, we've had 24 foster children.
My gosh, 24.
Yeah.
Wow.
We do a lot of sibling sets, and like you said, when you had seen me at the baseball field, we had 3 foster children. That was 2 different families of foster children. So that's why our numbers get so high so quickly, is because we've done a lot of kids at the same time. We adopted our 2 daughters that were our foster children back then.
I remember, oh gosh, I'm getting goosebumps again. I just remember when you announced it. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm sure all these moms were crying. Like, it's like thinking how amazing that is to give those 2 girls completely new life. I mean, I know probably a lot of these foster children has some backgrounds that is obviously not favorable. That's why they need to be fostered. Can you share a little bit about, like, not your specific for your girls, but in general, what are the backgrounds and that a lot of these foster care kids have?
Yeah, I would say generally it's drug addiction on the biological parent part. I think it's a huge epidemic that we have right now, and that leads to neglect and abuse. I've seen a couple that were like, short term because of domestic violence or mental health issues, but I would say the majority of our cases have been because of some sort of drug use issue, which is a real bummer, especially when they're babies and the effects that that has on them. So yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't really think of any other situation we've had besides
Yeah.
drug abuse.
So when obviously a lot of times these foster kids come to your house, you take care of them. What is the average length of time that they stay with you?
So I used to say the average time is about 8 to 12 weeks. That's about how long it takes to get a family member licensed to take their kin. And that is typically what happens with the children in my case. We found that most times we will take a child in, and then the county has already identified an auntie or an uncle or a cousin or somebody like that who is willing to go ahead and take on the children or child. And then the county goes into kind of like hyper mode trying to get them licensed, because even if you're a family member, you have to be licensed to take a foster child to take your own kin. They
I
used to be a lot more flexible, but now I think it was maybe 2018 or 19, they kind of went real firm that kinship, which is family member, has to do the same thing that foster parents do. They do try to push it through much faster than they would for somebody just trying to become a licensed foster parent. But it's good. It's not that much training. It's I think like 12 hours of training. It's a background check. It's a health check, some interviewing, a home study, things like that. CPR certification, things like that. So it's really important when you're taking on another child to kind of have some idea of what it might be like for them, and that they're not the same as your biological children, that their traumas and things will be different, their backgrounds will be different. So it's really good for everybody to get the training and go through it. So
Yeah, and you yourself have two biological children.
yeah.
And so how do they adapt to like having foster kids in the house all the time? I mean, probably by now they're kind of used to it, but in the beginning, is there like a period where they have to get used to?
It definitely goes in waves. Sometimes they are doing much better, and other times they are struggling. And it kind of depends on the kid. Not everybody gets along all the time. So for us, our children were pretty young when we started fostering. Joshua was 1 and Jeremiah was 3. So this is kind of all they've really known. Jeremiah, he has this amazing, compassionate heart. He's 9 now, and he just loves all things good. He's just so kind and loving and sweet and understanding. So he's always kind of flourished in this role. Joshua, he has a tough time sometimes, depending on the age of the child or the situation. But as he grows, he sees the value in it, and he recently said, like, I love having all these other kids to play with, and he realizes, he doesn't have to, he's sharing mommy, but he's not losing mommy.
Right.
So
Right.
that's been a good lesson for him. And I just, even if it was hard for them, I would say that it's an important life skill, that life isn't all about you, and that we're put on this earth to serve others. And so even when things are uncomfortable, that doesn't mean that you just don't have to do them, So thankfully we've been really lucky, and there's not been many moments of uncomfortability.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're pretty amazing.
That's
And they do why
awesome.
we do what we do, and they're really great.
I
So
mean, it's great that you're teaching your kids since they're little. It's like what you guys have been doing is that you really pretty much serving the community. And recently I actually saw this study by Harvard is saying that happiness, I mean, how do you get happiness, right? The happiness is actually mostly from helping other people. When you help other people, when you give, that's when you feel the most happiest. Very few people saying like, I'm the most happy when I just keep taking and taking and taking. Is actually when you're giving, that's when you feel the most happiest.
Right. I would totally agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm kind of curious, what are the age range for the foster kids that you'll be taking in?
We have kind of been flexible, and we've fluctuated. When the boys were little and we were first starting out, we said that we only want to do babies, and it was like, I think 0 to 2. And our first placement was a 3-month-old baby. And then, the county, Santa Clara County, they kind of push you a little bit out of your comfort zone. They call you, say, well, we have a baby, but she has a 5-year-old sister. How about that? And so we said, yeah, okay. And then we realized we actually really enjoyed the 5-year-old. We had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
And she was sweet and fun and playful, and she got along well with he was almost 5 at that time. And so then, we take another, and said, well, we have this other baby, but she comes with a 9-year-old sister, and so I said, okay, we'll try. And we, again, had a great time. She was a blast, and she fit well into our family, and she loved doing all the things that we love doing. And so then when they called me for my oldest daughter now, she was 11, and they said, we just need you to take her for a few days. She just needs a break from the foster home she's in. And we said, oh yeah, we could do anything for a few days. She went to the school about 5 minutes away from us, and so it was going to be easy to get her to school and keep her in her school. And then next thing we know, we were adopting a 12 and 13-year-old. So I hate to say that we didn't really stick to our age range like at all. Right now we are in a new home with 1 less bedroom, and so we are sticking to babies 0 to 1, just to give our daughters their own bedrooms. They just kind of need their own space right now. They're teenagers. They're 15 and 16, and they're very different. And so they've always been a package deal. They've always been together in the same room, and they just need their own space and their own ability to kind of spread their wings. So they're in their own rooms, and then the boys share. So that leaves us with a baby in our bedroom. Aww. And so we have a 9-month-old right now with us. We've had her since she was 4 months old. And
you had him since 4 months old?
Yeah, we've had her since she was 4 months old. This is this one. Oh. Yeah, so generally this length of time, it doesn't happen very often. We did have a foster placement for 10 months before going back to mom. But usually when it's this long, there's something going on that's maybe a little bit more than just like foster care. So so this will be a unique case. We'll see if this heads to adoption or not. We're open to whatever may come. But yeah, I lost track of what the question was now.
So the average age range. So the answer is there's no average.
There's no average. I do know that in some counties, they're no longer licensing people who want to do under 8 at the current moment, because there's a huge need for older children. And I can say that we were very worried about taking in older children, especially with our little boys. And for us, it's been an amazing experience, a huge blessing, and we couldn't be happier that we were willing to kind of get out of our comfort zone and try it, because it worked out really well for us.
Gosh, I mean, to think about what you are doing for all these children, right? Especially, I mean, I would think that it's really hard for you to, like, you obviously bond some relationship and emotion with each child. The longer they stay with you, the more emotion is going to have with that child. How do you handle that? That's one thing I always think about. It's like, what if I fall in love and I don't know what would happen.
And most times you do fall in love. I mean, there aren't many children that we haven't fallen in love with, including the baby we currently have that is not an open and shut adoption case, The one that I mentioned that we had for 10 months, she was hard. She had a lot of trauma, and she had a lot of difficult behaviors, but I loved her with my whole being. I mean, I would have adopted her in a heartbeat. The rest of my family would say like, no way. Like she was so hard for them.
Mm-hmm.
But as a mother, you're doing everything for these kids. You're wiping their butt, you're feeding them, you're putting them to bed, you're clothing them, you're doing everything for them, and you're giving them that physical attention and love that they need. It is really hard especially when you've had them for a very long time. The benefit with foster care is that the child has a social worker and you have a social worker, and usually the social workers are keeping you updated on kind of what's going on. So if mom and dad are working their services and it sounds like maybe they might get them back. If auntie is involved and wants custody. If grandma is going to step up. So it's easier to guard your heart a little bit and still fully love them and give them everything they need, but then to know like this isn't my child, like my responsibility is to love them and fatten them up and grow their hair and make them bigger and stronger and teach them for right now so that when they go to their new home that they're ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I know everyone always says like, oh, I could never do it because I would get too attached. It's like, well, believe me, I am very attached. I have children that were here 4 years ago that I still think about every day, that I miss terribly. And, sometimes we get lucky and we get to stay in contact. We have several that we talk to grandma or auntie or, the cousin or whatever that we still get to keep in contact with the children. And that's super awesome. And it kind of gives your heart a little bit of relief. But then you move on to the next baby and you have to open your heart again. Yeah. And so you kind of like push that to the side and then now you fully are loving on another child. So, it's a lot of heartbreak, but it's a lot of love.
Yeah. And it's funny how sometimes you think that, especially for people who had their first child and then they're going to have the second, they were like, how can I have more love for the second child? So right. You always think that you only have this limited amount of love, but right. You can love so many children. And that's why it makes it so admirable for what you're doing. I mean, you are pretty much selfless. There's a lot of sacrifice on your end, not just you, but your whole family and your husband. And I remember one time you post something on Facebook and that you pretty much kind of use that channel to vent because the baby, I think, was waking up every 2 hours or something.
Oh, yeah.
And you were tired and we were like, all the moms like, oh, totally get it. It's okay. But that's the sacrifice you're willing to do. How are you balancing this whole thing? And how do you get time to relax a little bit?
Well, I'm really lucky. I have an awesome husband that gets home from work and he kind of tags in. So I can cook dinner in peace, and then we have dinner together. And then after dinner, while the kids are cleaning up dinner, I usually will go to my room for about an hour and kind of decompress and play on my phone or watch TV or just rest. So I'm really lucky. I get that almost every weeknight. And then on the weekends, he's very present. He's very here. So we kind of tag team all the other kids and all their activities. And so I'm really lucky with that. He is fully 125% into foster care. He loves it. And so when he's home, he's very present and helpful. And then I have my parents who love our kids, and they're very helpful and loving. And then, because foster care does offer you a small stipend to take care of the kids, we don't need that money to survive. And so I get to put that money towards having a housekeeper or having a babysitter or things like that for whatever I need. So that's really helpful because we don't need to put that in our budget. So then I get to do like kind of that self-care stuff through that money, which is really wonderful. So we're really lucky and we're really blessed. And every time we take on more and I think, I don't know how this is gonna go, it just goes. I don't know how it happens. It just happens. So, it is overwhelming, but like you said with that Facebook post, I feel like I have quite the tribe that if I put it out there and say like, I just need help, or I need break, or I need milk, or whatever, I feel like I have quite a amazing community that just steps up right when I need it. You know,
Yeah. I mean, raising kids, we always say it takes a village to raise kids. And
right.
especially with your situation, you have like so many different kids. And I always look at even a family, it's like an organization. You never run a company by yourself, right? You always have to have people to help out. It's teamwork. Same thing with a whole, to make sure your home function sanely. It
Yeah.
requires teamwork, which your husband is a great team member of yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. So if somebody is curious about starting to become a foster parent, what would be the best advice you want to give that person?
So the logistical advice would be to reach out to your county, whatever county you're in. They have a social service department. So for Santa Clara County, for example, you could just type in foster care Santa Clara County, and it should pop up. I believe the phone number, even off the top of my head, is like 1-800 299-KIDS, I think, is the number you can call, and you can sign up for an orientation, and the county will tell you all about foster care and fingerprint you in the process to become a foster parent, and then they'll help you through that. If you're religious, there's fosterthebay.org, which is all over the Bay Area, and
Mm.
they'll help you. They'll actually give you an orientation and walk you through all the options
Mm-hmm.
for fostering through an agency or through the county that you live in. They'll hold your hand. They'll support you through it. They'll connect you with a church and support friends. And so that's a pretty amazing way to go. If we're just talking theoretically, I would say the biggest piece of advice I would have for someone is that if you have a heart big enough to love your children, you have a heart big enough to love a foster child.
Mm.
And I really feel like everybody can do something for a foster child. There's so many ways to support a foster family or to become a foster family. It is hard work. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that part. It is really, really hard, but it's really, really beautiful too.
Mm.
And I do like to tell people that think that, oh, I just want to adopt a baby. You know, you don't know what you're going to get with that baby just as much as you don't know what you're going to get with that teen. And we have some beautiful teams. And if you are willing and open to hear and listen to the child and to work with them and do therapies with them and be creative with your parenting, because parenting is not a size one fits all
That's so true.
scenario, then I think really anybody could become a foster parent. I really do. I don't consider myself a hero. You know, I was telling my husband about this, and I said to some heroes here. I said, but I'm not a hero. You know, he
You
said, you are.
are.
You know, he said, foster parents are absolutely heroes. You know, and so I don't think it takes superhuman strength to do what we do. I think it just takes a commitment to be willing to learn and grow and bend, you know, and know that I'm not perfect and I might need to change the way I parent or the way I talk to a certain child. And
Mm.
being open that way makes it just a whole lot easier.
I mean, I love it. Beautifully said. I love the fact that you said we're not perfect. No one is perfect, but you
No,
just got to have that heart big enough to
right.
accommodate these children. I think one of the things that a lot of people are worried about is like, or we keep hearing these horrible stories about foster children, and it's heartbreaking. So really going in with your heart open for these children, understanding their situation is the best way to go. And I know there are a lot of misconceptions about foster parents sometimes, right?
Right.
Yeah. What are some of the common misconceptions do you think that people have?
I think a lot of times people think we're doing it for the money, which they don't realize it's actually not that much money, you know, a month to take care of the child if you
Mhm.
look at the expenses. And if you are doing foster care right, you have them in mommy and me classes and you have them in sports and activities that eats that money up, you know, instantly. You have,
Yeah.
you know, new clothes and shoes and all the things that they need. So I think that would be a huge misconception that people have. Also, that we're like a group home. You know, I had a foster baby that when I had the baby and the 9-year-old, her aunt and grandma came over to our home to see the kids, and she walked in and she was like, this isn't at all what I expected. She expected like some filthy house with children running all over the place and locks on the refrigerator and the cabinets, and we're just a home, you know, we're just a normal average home. You know, I do keep a pretty clean, you know, household. That's my one big thing, is I'm really crazy about things being picked up and organized, but with this many kids, it's got to be picked up and organized. But I think they think like, yeah, that this is just like a puppy meal or something for children. But for us, it's just about giving these kids a soft place to land for however long they need to land. You know,
That's true.
it's not about how many kids can we get through here, or, you know, how, whatever else we could think of. You know, it's just, we want to be a good mom and dad and show them what they should expect from adults and what they deserve, the kind of love, and that they know that they have the right to ask for more, you know, to be
Yeah.
fully and wholly and all the stuff in between.
And if we want, I always say that whatever our childhood is really shape who we are in the future. And you are providing a, even though may not be a long period of time, but that short period of time fostering the kid really set some kind of foundation of his or her lifetime, to think back at, yeah, I was once fostered by these loving parents who gave me the best that they could have given me. So gosh, you know, the whole time I'm talking to you, I feel like I want to cry, getting all teary, but it's like my feeling about like how amazing of a person you are and how amazing all these foster parents are. Truly, you guys are so selfless. I really admire that. And yeah, I just, yeah, so appreciative of the fact that you're willing to talk about this. Let me ask all these questions so I can get a better sense of what foster parent is about too.
Yeah, anything for foster care. That's what I say all the time. Anything for foster care, because it is so important, and it's such a broken system. And so when these kids get sucked into that system and it's so broken, and these adults are making all these decisions for these kids, it is so important that they land in a happy, healthy home, because everything going around them is just falling apart. And so anything that I can do to get more children out of the system and into happy homes. I mean, technically they're still in the system, but they can be shielded from that. They can be sheltered from that. They don't need to know what's going on with the adults and the mess that the adults have made. They just need to know that they're here and they're safe and they're loved and they're happy. And so anybody who's willing to offer them a happy, healthy home, I will do anything for that person to help them and to encourage them.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So I hope that, you know, this will continue, and I hope that through this video, maybe more people will become foster parent. I'm going to be sharing this video with my husband too. Yeah, this is something we actually talked about. And at the time, not at the time, we still have 3 kids, and both of us work. So we kept saying like, how are we going to be able to do this? But, you know, they are older now maybe, but you really gave me some hope here.
Yeah, I mean, there's childcare available. There's like, they provide a monthly stipend. You could use that for childcare. The county will really help, especially in Santa Clara County. There are so many resources for foster parents to get help and babysitting and childcare, and you know, to help with getting them enrolled in school and what their rights are and things like that. So I really would say, if you have 2 working parents, to not be discouraged, because especially in Santa Clara County, they really bend over backwards to help people. And they know that in this modern world and in this economy and in Silicon Valley, that most of us have to have 2 working parents. And yes, it's easier to have somebody, you know, stay at home, but as long as, you know, you can be a little bit flexible, and the social workers are usually pretty flexible because they understand as well. So I think really any family situation can do it, you know. I really do believe that. It's hard work, but it can be done.
I love it. Love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jillian. Really, really appreciate this. Well, thank you everybody for watching this. Like, if you ever think about fostering a kid, a child, you know, or their siblings together, you know, just listen to this story again. There are ways to do it, and give a child a happy memory, you know, when they grow up, even no matter how bad the situation is, they just need a little bit of happy memory. Well, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you so much for watching our YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like our videos, make some comments, because we're going to keep you posted on the most updated real estate news, housing market data, and also real estate tips and advice from all over the real estate industry. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.